Hello there, and welcome to the first edition of the current podcast, which is actually an extension of the current blog. So this podcast is probably for those of you who prefer to listen than read. I'm joined by Harry, our content marketer, and we'll be discussing all things e-mobility and EVBox. In today's episode, we'll be joined by Roger Atkins, founder of Electric Vehicles Outlook, but also our host for Revolution 2020 on March 31st. So Roger, it would be fantastic if you could tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
I'm happy to do that, Ryan. So I'm Roger Atkins. As you said, you've made me be the host again. You know, I had to be forced for about 3 seconds, and then I agreed, because it's a great show. I'm pleased to bring to it the stuff that I've learned over 30 years in automotive, 15 years in EV, things that I learned a lot through LinkedIn, are things equally that I hopefully bring along. Lots of people I've met, lots of things I've discovered. I suppose in learning all that stuff over these 15 years with EV, I've kind of got to get a sense and a flavour of things that then allow me to talk to people on stage, you know, free and easily, hopefully without notes, because I'm not very good at reading notes. I'm not very good at doing what I'm told, really, to be honest with you. But, you know, it happens. So, yes, I'm the host and really looking forward to it. We had a blast this year, 2019, and we're going to have a blast and some for the show March 31st, 2020.
So we visited the venue a few weeks ago, and it sort of looked like a movie set. What do you think?
It looks like an inverted Close Encounters of the Third Kind spaceship. It's in a converted gas tower. So what's fantastic about that is there we all are, bundled together, 1,000 and more people, talking about the future of not just new mobility, but new energy in an old gas tower. And it's used as a music venue. It's used as a venue for all sorts of things because it's spectacular. And we had a great time in it this year. It was the first time we used it, 2019. And it was so successful in terms of how it works, what it looks like, what you can fit in it, and all the other things that goes on. Yeah, absolutely. We're using it again. So I'm really excited.
So it's early 2020. Can you see anything coming up this year in terms of e-mobility trends? Thinking long haul, the electrification of HGVs, anything like that?
Well, you said there, Harry, trucks and delivery things, I think a couple of things there. And interestingly, I think, I'm not sure why you said that. Why did you say those particular things, just out of interest?
Well, just recent news with the Cybertruck and the Amazon fleets, really.
Yeah, well, actually, for a long time, and in fact, I was at a company called Modec in 2007 in the UK. There was a startup EV manufacturer of an electric truck. It was a 5.5 ton truck, 3.5 ton with 2 ton payload. Wow. So 5.5 GVW electric delivery van that could do 100 miles. FedEx bought some. They always do. They'll buy at least 5, like FedEx, etc. Yeah. Tesco's had some. Speedy Hire had some. Center Parcs even had some. And I felt at the time, as we all did at that company, that this was the beginning of the revolution. So it's like 12 years ago. Yeah. That towns and cities would see more and more electric delivery trucks. And we hoped that would happen, and it didn't. Yeah. So why didn't it? Well, think about what happened 2008, 2009, 2010. We were then in the midst of a financial meltdown, a banking crisis, call it what you will. But what I think that did over the last 10 years is basically delayed or damaged what I thought was going to be the first wave of electric vehicle adoption, to answer your question, Harry, which is in commercial vehicle fleets. There's many commentators and people for some time who've said that the issue about clean air in cities is kind of like Pareto law. 80% of the pollution caused by 20% of the vehicles. So what are those 20%? Well, surprise, surprise, they're taxis, they're buses, and they're delivery vans. So it would make sense to deal with those things that cause most pollution first. Because airborne pollutants, the whole thing of that stuff, is part of the twin imperative that EVs are all about. You know, many things are all about. You know, climate change, mitigating CO2, but also dealing with air quality. It's a twin imperative. Yeah. And so I think what's going to happen, I'm really confident this is going to happen. We're going to see accelerated adoption of EVs, but mostly in commercial vehicle fleets, taxis, buses and vans. I think you mentioned, Harry, Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.
So 100,000 electric vans as an order. It's the single biggest electric vehicle order in history. Now, I'm not that clever, so I'm not sure if it's the single biggest fleet order of any vehicle in history. So I think you're already now seeing it happen. You are seeing this electrification of commercial fleets.
So I find it interesting that you originally thought the shift to EVs was going to happen 12 years ago. Do you think that economic reasons and financial reasons are at play here?
I think that, it's financial. It's about leasing. It's about confidence, residual value. It's about choice. Yeah, for sure it's about technology. Because if you look at what batteries cost then to what they cost now, oh my word. Drastic. Drastic's not the word. I mean, from about 2000, and I was looking at something from Bloomberg recently, and it went from about 2010 to now, and it went from about $1,100 a kilowatt hour down to about 140 or something now.
Oh, wow.
So that's a massive difference.
Yeah.
So it's all of those things you mentioned, and I think more to the point, the public are much more aware today, 12 years on from when we were knocking about with Modec, about air quality than they ever were.
We've also seen that car sharing is becoming increasingly popular. Do you think there's a chance of that becoming more EV focused in the future?
Well, like I say, I think anything that operates in an urban environment that's kind of sort of defined mileage. So if you have a taxi, there's two sorts of taxis, certainly in the UK. There's public hire and private hire. So the public hire, the black cabs, the ones you wave at in the street. And the private hire is the ones literally that you privately hire and you book them. It's a book taxi, as a document of it. So those companies, like, for example, the big one in London, Addison Lee, they know the demand cycle. They know the pattern of range required and a whole host of things. They've got that data. So they can see that, and therefore they could match much more easily the electric vehicle proposition with what the marketplace is. And I think, yeah, absolutely, there's going to be a big adoption, because I think over and above what national policy is, or even European policy, what's occurring now are city policies. City mayors and other people saying, we're going to have a zero-emission zone in these postcodes. You can't drive here if you've got a petrol or diesel engine, full stop. Well, if you're a taxi firm or a delivery firm, well, you better get an EV then, haven't you?
How are the UK going to catch up? Are they going to have to implement something nationwide, or is it going to be at city level they do something?
All around the world now, if you think about it logically, what you read and hear is that the human population is increasing, but not everywhere. So in some countries it's declining, but in places like Africa and Asia it's increasing. And not only is that population increasing, but it's becoming urbanized, it's becoming, city dwellers, all of this sort of stuff. So that means that the bigger areas with more people are those cities. So the areas of influence and dominance are cities, and mayors in cities, whether it's in China or America or in Europe or anywhere else, they are the people now responsible for, I mentioned that twin imperative earlier, the air quality. So they will bring out policies because they're much more, I think, directly accountable to the electorate or the local people, even if they're not elected, than anyone else. And this is almost like Back to the Future. It's only a few hundred years that we've had nation states. The history of the world mainly is about cities. The great empires, when you say them, you say Rome. Or you say these Athens, you say the city, because that's where the power was. And we're almost kind of going back to that in a sort of slightly weird way.
So what's the biggest obstacle then?
The problem for OEMs, for car manufacturers, is they want it to be blanket. They want to have a European thing. They want to have an Asian thing, because they want to make a certain type of car that fits everybody. They don't want, this is like a nightmare for a lot of them. They don't want someone who lives in Amsterdam, for example, who then has a car that can do whatever, but then drives to Paris or Berlin, and there's a different regime there. They can't drive their car there. It's a bit like, it's sort of the opposite of what you'd imagine. But you are right. I mean, I do agree with you, but this is the mindset shift. This is the kind of structural change that's going on now around, type approval or the legislation of, emissions, etc. It's, it's becoming a bit tricky.
So there's been a lot of news recently about lithium batteries, the end-of-life procedure and their sourcing. What's your opinion on this?
I think what's regularly talked about inevitably is cobalt within batteries. That, depending upon which battery company or car company you're talking about, is becoming lesser in the mix of those batteries for various reasons. But that particular mineral predominantly comes from one country in the world, from what was formerly Zaire, the Democratic Republic of Congo. And a lot of it is artisanal mining, and it does include children collecting the materials in baskets in not nice, situations. For then, tidy, smart people in lovely parts of the world to drive electric vehicles. And that doesn't sit well it shouldn't sit well with anybody. So there's that. Lithium. Lithium comes in a number of forms. I just thought, well, it's lithium, isn't it? You just get it from the lithium shop. Yeah. A bag of lithium, please, mate. That'll be £1. But, there's brine, there's spodumene, there's lithium rock, and it comes from Bolivia, it comes from Australia, it comes from all sorts of countries around the world. And understanding how that works, the chronology of discovering mineral resources, establishing a mine, putting that mine together, feeding it into the supply chain, and then not only that, the lithium's got to be automotive grade lithium. So there are different grades of lithium. It's like football teams. So this is like Premiership lithium we're talking about here. So it's Liverpool lithium. Let's put it like that. Yeah. Liverpool lithium.
Maybe not Man United.
It could have been Man United a couple of seasons ago, and not now.
Not now.
So Liverpool lithium. What does that mean? It means lithium that within the battery chemistry is stable, gives the delivery of the predominant requirements: safety, durability, cycle life, cost, etc. Well, cost is a challenge because it's the better quality stuff, so of course it's more expensive. So this is a very long answer to your very simple question, which is it's an issue, and the more people understand it, the better, so we can then deal with it properly.
So this is a question that I am quite interested to hear your perspective on. You obviously use social media as a platform to advocate EVs. I was wondering why you use social media and also why you find it so effective.
Ultimately, the purpose it should be there to serve is to progress something, to make things happen, to make a difference, basically. And if my stuff does that, great. I hope it does, because I connect people and ideas and things and all of that. But if anyone wants any, I won't call it advice, but any tips, it would be, if you want to build a social media platform, be prepared for hard work.
Yeah.
You can't. There are no magic tricks. You might post something and it gets 1 million views because of some reason or another, but then it'll all fall away again. Yeah. So if you want to build up a long-standing, consistent profile on it, it'll take time. You'll have to work hard and just be yourself.
Be as authentic as possible.
Yeah. But no, look, I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn. Yeah. It's helped me run my own business. At 55 years old, I could have, like a few people I know, start to, I think I need to slow down. And I kind of felt I need to speed up a bit. Yeah. And the reason I felt that was I thought, well, if I'm 55, I haven't got, my future is much less than my past. I better hurry up. If I want to do things, if I can make a difference and other stuff, I've got less time left to do that, so I better get on with it. So I've more speeded up as I've got older, got busier as I've got older, and engaged in more things as I'm older than any other time before. And LinkedIn has been the kind of, catalyst to all of that stuff.
I guess one final question I had was, do you fly a lot, or do you try to take the train as much as possible?
To some extent, I'm a hypocrite in that I talk about, all these things that have to happen, and I fly a lot. So where I kind of avoid flying to be with people that, I like to work with and do stuff, then I do. So coming here on the train, or going to Paris on the train is what you have to do. And is it a bit less convenient? Yeah, but come on,
it's worth it.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it. Simple as that.
So that's all we've got time for. Roger, we'll see you back here in Amsterdam on March 31st for Revolution 2020.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Cheers.